I knew it was too quiet when I stepped into the house. No balloons, no faint rustle of wrapping paper, no cake scent in the air, just a trace of Lysol, like they'd cleaned something up. For a second, I convinced myself it was just the usual Saturday quiet, that maybe I was just being sensitive. Again, I had a small cake box in my arms. One of those modest ones you get from the grocery store fridge section. Chocolate, with piped-on cursive that read, "Happy birthday, Eliza." My name looked almost too long for the frosting space, like it was apologizing for being there. No one greeted me when I walked in. Just the dog, old Gus, tail thumping weakly against the floor. My mother's voice came from the backyard, loud, too cheerful. She laughed in a way I hadn't heard in years, not since she used to talk to me like I mattered. I moved toward the sliding door. That's when I saw it. Pink streamers, balloons, a long folding table filled with cupcakes, punch bowls, glittery plasticware. My sister, Claire, stood in the center wearing a tiara that said Birthday Queen, even though she'd already had her birthday in April. Everyone was there. Aunt Marie, Cousin Lucas, even Dad, who said he'd be out of town. They all clapped as Claire blew out the candles on a 3-tier cake that looked like it cost more than my last rent check. No one noticed me standing at the glass door. Not even Claire. Not even my mother, who glanced toward me briefly, then turned away, like I was someone's +1 who wandered in too early. I stood there holding my cake. No candles, no lighter. Just the name they'd all quietly erased. And I didn't say a word. I used to pretend Claire and I were twins. We weren't. She's 2 years younger. But I always thought maybe if we pretended hard enough, we'd be treated the same. That. If she got a doll, I'd get one too. If she had a party, I'd get to invite the same number of friends. If she got hugs when she cried, I might get one too. But it never worked that way. Claire had her first big birthday party at 6. A princess-themed, explosion of sparkles and ponies and rented entertainers. Mine that year was a frozen pizza, a used book, and a birthday song sung off-key by Dad, who left halfway through to take a call. I didn't complain. Complaining only made things worse. "Stop being jealous," Mom used to snap. "It's not a competition." But it always felt like one. I learned to downplay things, to shrink my wants until they didn't feel like wants anymore. Even now, at 28, I still apologize when I ask for things, like I need permission to be remembered. Maybe that's why I brought my own cake this year. A small one, nothing too bright. Just enough to say, I exist. But even that was too much. Didn't go outside. I stood at the edge of the sliding glass door long enough to see the first round of photos begin. Everyone angling their phones, crowding around Claire as she posed with her hand on her hip like she was already used to. The attention. My aunt handed her an envelope with a glitter sticker seal. Claire squealed. Someone shouted, "This is so much better than your real birthday." I watched my mother smile at that. She smiled the kind of proud, radiant smile I used to dream about when I made honor roll or cleaned the kitchen without being asked. The kind of smile I hadn't seen aimed at me in years. I turned quietly, slipped back into the hallway, and carried my cake to the kitchen. It was still cold from the store fridge. I opened the box slowly, peeled off the clear top. The frosting was slightly smudged, probably from the way I held it while walking from the car. I stared at it for a long time. "Happy birthday, Eliza." It didn't even feel like a lie. Just an inside joke no one else was in on. I found a fork in the drawer. No plate, Just one bite. Small, like a secret. I didn't cry. I didn't storm outside. I didn't demand an explanation. Instead, I sat at the kitchen table alone, surrounded by faint laughter drifting in through the open window. I took another bite of my cake, then another. Chewed slowly. They hadn't forgotten. That was the part that stayed with me the longest. Claire's party was planned for weeks. I saw the group chats by accident once. A stray message popped up on Mom's phone while she handed it to me in the car. I assumed it was a graduation party. Claire had just finished her first year of nursing school. But even then, it was weird. They never mentioned it again. Mom changed the subject every time. I asked what the plans were for this weekend. Nothing special, she said. Maybe just a quiet day. Apparently, that quiet day included 30 people, a crown, and a 3-layer cake with custom lettering. I picked at the corner of my cake. My own name looked too neat now, too careful. Later that night, the photos went up. Claire posted the album. First, 73 filtered pictures, all pink-themed, golden lit, everyone beaming like they'd just stepped off the cover of a lifestyle magazine. Someone had used a drone for a group shot. I wasn't in it. I knew I wasn't in it, but I zoomed in anyway. I looked for a shadow of myself through the kitchen window, a reflection in the glass door. My own arm holding a cake. Anything. Nothing. It was like I never walked through that door. Like I was never born that day. The captions were worse. The best day ever for our real birthday girl. So much love to Claire. Still can't believe we pulled off the surprise. She deserves the world. She's the sun in our lives. No one tagged. Me. No one mentioned me. The only thing posted about my birthday was an automated "Happy Birthday, Eliza" balloon banner from Facebook. 3 people liked it. One was a girl I knew from college who I hadn't spoken to in 5 years. I scrolled and scrolled. Comment after comment. Heart emojis, memories, old photos of Claire as a baby. One even said, "It's always been Claire. She's the light of the family." I don't know why that one stuck in my chest like a blade. Maybe because it was true. Maybe because it always had been. Maybe because I remembered when I used to be the light too. Before Claire was born, I was the one with photo albums, with little dresses, with party hats. I've seen the proof. It's in a drawer in Mom's hallway. But after Claire came, the albums slowed. The parties shifted. The smiles turned in another direction. And I dimmed. That night, I didn't sleep. I didn't cry either. Crying felt useless, like watering a plant that's already been dug out. Instead, I did something I hadn't done in years. I opened my laptop and pulled up a file I hadn't touched since college, a spreadsheet titled "Expenses, Claire and Me." I'd started it half-jokingly when I was 18, keeping track of things I'd paid for. School supplies for Claire, Uber rides, groceries, late-night gas money, tuition top-ups, clothes she borrowed and never returned. At some point, it had stopped being a joke. I updated the file now. I added a row. Item: Claire's birthday party, decor, prep, $80 for backyard cleanup. Paid by Eliza date. This morning, and beside it, in the notes column, I wrote, "I brought my own cake." It started with a document on my desktop called "Just in Case." I had named it that years ago when I was living out of a friend's spare room, trying to claw my way through grad school with 2 jobs and no weekends. It was never meant to be anything serious. Just an outline of what little I had, who it should go to, and a few passwords tucked in a separate note. But that night, after Claire's surprise party, on my birthday, I opened it again, and this time, I wasn't writing out of caution. I was writing from clarity. The kind that comes after being erased so thoroughly, so cleanly, that even your own body starts to question its presence in a room. Change the emergency contact name from Mom to Ava, my friend from work who once stayed on the phone with me for 3 hours when I had the flu and no one else answered. Ava, who remembered my favorite tea brand without asking. Ava, who once mailed me a birthday card 3 days early because she said, "You deserve at least that." I changed the listed beneficiary from Claire Madison to no one. At least for now. There wasn't much anyway. Just some savings, my name on an apartment lease, a small stock portfolio cobbled together from freelance paychecks and restless nights. But that wasn't the point. The point was, I wasn't leaving pieces of myself to people who didn't notice I was there. The next morning, I got a text from Mom. "Hey, sweetie. Sorry we didn't get to catch up yesterday. Everything was so crazy. Hope you had a good Saturday." No mention of my birthday. Not even a breadcrumb. It was astonishing. The kind of message that seemed innocent until you read it twice and realized it was hollowed out on purpose. I didn't reply. Not because I was angry, but because I'd finally stopped trying to be stitched into a story that was never written for me. Instead, I printed out the spreadsheet from the night before, folded it, slid it into a folder labeled Claire, Debts and Gifts, and tucked it in the back of my filing cabinet. A quiet record. A mirror, if she ever looked close enough. Then I lit a small candle, one I'd bought for myself months ago and never used because I thought maybe someone would give me something better. I lit it and watched the flame dance. On the wick, it was small, quiet, steady, and for once, it was enough. A few weeks passed. Not one mention of my birthday ever came up again. Not from my mother, not from Claire, not from the cousins who toasted her with champagne in the backyard, while I sat in the kitchen with a plastic fork and grocery store frosting. It was as if they had folded time around themselves and ironed me out of it. That was the hardest part, I think. Not the forgetting, but the ease of it. I saw Claire once at a family dinner. It wasn't planned. I had come by to pick up a box of old books I left in the attic, and she just happened to be there, sitting at the table, laughing, wearing one of my old sweaters I hadn't realized she still had. "Hey, stranger," she said. "Didn't think you'd show." I smiled, tightly. I didn't sit down. No one asked me to. Instead, I took the books, nodded once toward the room, and backed out of it like I was exiting a wake I hadn't been invited to. I heard someone mutter something as I walked out. "She's been weird lately." Weird. That word stuck with me the whole ride home. Weird. Like grief that hasn't been sanctioned. Weird. Like not wanting to be invisible anymore. That night, I walked through my apartment and began collecting things. Not memorabilia, but bills. Utility accounts in my name. Credit cards I'd co-signed for when Claire's budget came up short. Subscription services that had been piggybacking on my debit card for months. I canceled everything. No warnings, no messages. Just clean exits. Silence as currency. I didn't need to shout to be heard anymore. I just needed to stop answering. I got a call from my mother 3 days later. I didn't pick up. A text followed. "Why is the Hulu not working? Did something happen?" Yes. Something had happened. Years ago. But I didn't respond. Instead, I opened my fridge, took out the last sliver of that cake I hadn't finished on my birthday, and ate it cold, straight from the box, forkless. And for the first time in a long time, I felt full. The family group chat had always been loud. Gifts, recipes, out-of-focus baby photos, Claire's selfies with captions like, "Feeling cute today," and heart reactions from every aunt, even the ones who hadn't seen her in years. I used to mute the thread. Then I just started ignoring it. But last night, something about it pulled me in again. Some part of me still curious, still wondering if they noticed the change. They did. Buried between a photo of Claire's new haircut and a forwarded meme about Mercury in retrograde was this message from Mom. "Anyone know if Eliza's okay? She's been kind of distant?" 3 dots. That was all I rated. A question mark, followed by digital silence. Nobody responded. Nobody. I didn't expect a love letter, but some small defense might have felt like something. I waited, watching the screen glow in the dark of my room. 10 minutes. 20. Then it disappeared into the scroll, buried under photos of a new patio set Claire bought with her nurse job bonus, even though I knew the deposit came from the $600 I lent her last December. No one remembered that either, so I left the chat, not dramatically, no exit message, just a quiet leave group and a swipe. Then I deleted the thread. It didn't ache the way I thought it would. The next morning, Ava brought coffee. She didn't ask. She just showed up, like she always did when I couldn't say what I needed, but somehow still needed someone. "Wanted to see your face," she said, handing me the warm paper cup. "Sorry, it's not very exciting." "Doesn't have to be. You showed up. That's the win." I blinked at that. You showed up. No one had said that to me before. Not even when I was the one driving across town for someone's moving day or staying up late to help Claire edit her resume or buying last-minute balloons when my mom forgot them for Dad's birthday. I had always shown up, but it had never been enough. Later that day, I logged into my budgeting app. I made one final transfer. The shared family phone line, the one I had paid for since college, was now under review for cancellation. I had added Claire and Mom as authorized users back then, when they both said they couldn't make it through the month without a little help. I removed them. Quietly. No explanation. And with each click, a small weight lifted from a shelf. Inside me, I didn't know I'd been carrying. There was no need to tell them. They'd feel it. It's been almost a year. The kind of year that passes slowly, and then all at once. The kind that reshapes you. Not through any single moment, but in the absence of the ones you thought would matter most. I live somewhere new now. Smaller. Quieter. Mine. There's a balcony that catches the late morning sun, and I've filled the windowsills with plants no one else ever remembers to water. The walls aren't covered in photos, just one, in a wooden frame I bought at a flea market. A picture of me as a child, wearing a crooked paper crown, frosting on my nose. I keep it near the front door. Not as a memory, but a reminder. There was a time they did celebrate me. Even if it didn't last. Claire still posts photos. Last month she threw herself another party. Not a birthday this time. Something vague, a just because I deserve it party. My mother was there, smiling with a drink in hand. I saw the pictures on a cousin's page. I didn't feel much. No ache, no anger, just distance. Like I'd finally stepped off a carousel I was never meant to ride. This morning, I bought myself a cake. Not small, not sad. A real one. White with raspberry filling. Piped flowers along the edge. I didn't pick the one from the discounted shelf. I didn't check the price twice. I brought it home, set it on the counter, and lit a single candle. The kitchen was quiet, but the silence didn't feel hollow anymore. It felt like mine. I didn't sing. I didn't wish for anything. I just closed my eyes, let the warmth of the candlelight brush against my skin, and exhaled. Then I cut the first slice, placed it on a real plate, and sat in the sun. I don't know if they'll ever understand what they lost, but I know what I gained. And this year, when the notifications roll around and no one says my name, I won't flinch. I have the day off. I have a full cake. I have peace. That's more than enough.